Welcome to another week at the farm. I think spring is getting here now.
No, it's not.
We've got a little break in the weather over the next few days, so we've got a chance to get some jobs done that are mounting up.
I think we can get a few little tasks done and a little bit of planning. We've got about 4 days when it's not going to rain, and then we've got another week's worth due.
I don't think we can get the tractor out on the land yet, can we?
There is no chance of getting the tractor out on that land unless you want to dig it out, because it'll get stuck.
But then that gives you time to practice driving it.
A little bit of practice. I've got a little bit more prep to do, and then at least I can go up and down the road and practice.
I'm too scared to drive it. Too scared at the moment. It's a big machine. I don't know how to do it.
So there's been so much we've been waiting to do. I'll give you a great example. The fencing, all the materials for the fencing we bought in early February. We're now mid-April and we haven't been able to do anything. And I think it might not be until next month that we can finally get that done. It just shows how the rain has affected us here so far this year.
And I think they've also extended the time that you have to have your grass cut by. So normally you have to get your grass cut by the end of April, and they've extended it to the end of May again.
Yeah. So with that in mind, we will get off and make a start on some of our tasks by going and making some coffee.
Yeah. I realise that we haven't actually chatted to you about where we are with the renovation of our buildings at the moment. So I thought I'd bring you up to date. And over the last year, we've been working with an architect because we have to have proper drawings in order to do the upgrade that we want to our properties. And this has to be submitted to the local council, the Camera, for planning permission. So we've worked with the architect. We finally got ourselves to a stage where the drawings are all done and we know exactly what we want. And so the architect is now submitting that to the Camera, and we will wait for our planning permission. Paul had to get planning permission on the barn in his back in his UK property, and because we lived in the Brecon Beacons National Park, it took us over a year to get that planning permission. So we're hoping, because we live in a national park here in Portugal, it might not take as long. Apparently there are a few more hurdles to jump through because we live in a national park, but they have strict rules on how long the planning department can take to give you a decision. So fingers crossed, we should have some good news at some point this year and we can get building. Our thought process at the moment is to improve the main building behind us, start with that first, and then that will become our main home. So we'll move into that rather than living in Longhouse where we are at the moment. We also have the building behind, which is the ruin, which is going to be a workshop, but we think we should put all our finances into our main property first before we do the workshop. We'll see. We've got a builder lined up, and we've asked him for a quote for that because we could probably get started on that without planning permission because there aren't any changes happening. We're just renovating it. And we've decided that we do need to get a builder to help us because some of the walls are really not very structurally sound and we don't want to make more of a mess. But under the guidance of a builder, we can do some of the labouring work and he can do the making good afterwards. So maybe the ruin will happen next. Airbnb, that is a longer term project. We're not in a situation right now where we need to run the Airbnb financially, and we've got a lot of exploring and travelling that we want to do. So we need to do that first before we start having guests coming to stay in the Airbnb, because that will become a bit more of a tie for us. So I think that's you up to date on that. Yeah. job I've been wanting to do for weeks. Collect all the olive cuttings off the sloping land, because I think it's going to be too difficult for Paul to get on with the tractor to collect them all. So I'm going to wheelbarrow them and hopefully get it all complete this afternoon and stack them in one place down the bottom here.
One of the things that I really hoped we'd make space for when we moved to Portugal was a wildflower meadow. And when we moved here in the early days, I'd walk around the land trying to pick a spot where I could create one. And it wasn't until this spring that I realised that there's no need for me to try and create it because it's already here, up here at the top part of the land. So my idea is to try and cultivate this, try and improve it, encourage more wildflowers to grow and a greater variety of them as well. To do that this year, I'm going to leave this area behind me uncut until the very last second. So what I want them to do is I want them to go to seed, and then I'll come round with the tractor or the strimmer and I'll cut them down to ground level. Hopefully then that will disperse the seeds that have been generated. Plus also, if I can find a good supplier, I'll buy some slightly different varieties so that I can bolster what we've got here. Further down the land that way towards the main olive grove, there's more grass than there are wildflowers in that area. What I could do if I wanted to increase the stock of wildflowers down there is I could add a flower called yellow rattle. It's semi-parasitic or parasitic, so it attaches itself to the grass, essentially, takes its nutrients from that, and it suppresses the growth of the grass. And over years, that allows more space for wildflowers to become more abundant. So that's probably the long-term plan, especially if we do get some beehives going, if we do capture a swarm or buy a swarm and have that here on the farm, then naturally having a wildflower meadow is just going to benefit us with having those pollinators right next to us. And then we'll have honey as a result as well. Whilst we've got this break in the weather, there is some strimming I can do, and the area I'm going to take care of today is from the back of the house going down to towards the stream down the old road. I want to clear it for a couple of reasons. First one is where we're going to spend most of our time sitting outdoors now that it's sunny, so we want it to look a bit nicer. And although I'm loath to cut some of the flowers or the wildflowers here because they're still in bloom, we've got plenty enough of them elsewhere, so it won't matter. Secondly, or the second reason I want to do it is the old road is where I need to take the tractor down to get either to the vegetable area or to the 2 acre section, which is on the sloping land. I can't get down there yet, but when I do go down there, I want the old road clear so I can see better the land that my tyres are going over, just so I can try and keep the tractor as level as possible, prevent myself having any mishaps, because I am very inexperienced on the tractor, and the easier I can make my job, the less chance there is of anything going wrong. This is my patch of uncut wild blue lupins, like I said. I was going to keep them to one side. They should go to seed in a few weeks. We'll scoop them up and then I'll come back and cut them down to the floor then. But I got a nice healthy patch to take the seeds over to what's going to be our dedicated wildflower area up by where the barn's going to be.
That was a lot of work.
Yeah, it was a tough day today, gotta say. Feet are hurting, all day in wellies. It's painful.
Paul's done loads of strimming, so we can now we've got a really clear way all the way down to the veg patch behind us. And I completely underestimated my job.
Yeah, I'll show you the bit I strimmed shortly. I will confess a couple of things about it though. I've always been in the habit of saying, let's hold back on the strimming until as near the fire regulations date as possible, so I don't have to do it twice. But it's really hard leaving it that long. It's so thick. So I'm going to strim it twice a year from now on. We'll do one roundabout, either roundabout when we harvest the olives or after sometime around Christmas time. And again now, because the little areas where I did strim it going back a couple of months ago, it was so much easier to deal with. And the other thing I got to confess is that I accidentally strimmed the tripod that we put the camera on. So it's now got basically 2.5 legs rather than 3. So we're going to have to order a new one.
Yeah. So my job that I wanted to do today was I wanted to clear all of the olive cuttings from the sloping land, but I completely underestimated the amount of work that was. They've when you do pruning originally, the branches are still malleable, they're still bendy, you can still stuff as many as you like into the wheelbarrow, but they've all gone sticky. They've all gone really, really hard and twig-like, and I can't fit anywhere near as many in the wheelbarrow.
Yeah, the other reason why Miranda's was finding it so hard, as well as the grass is so high and it's so green and lush, pushing a wheelbarrow through it is it's a big ask.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll take you down and show you how much I got done. So all of this came from just one row. It was probably about 3 rows of olives, to be honest, because I pulled all the cuttings down onto the first kind of terrace to make it easier for collecting, but it wasn't easy to collect at all. But that's the first lot done.
So as you know, Miranda and I have brought our tractor and all the implements, and we need to build a barn for them all to be housed in. There's an area of land up here, right at the top, next to where the wildflower meadow currently is, but it's pretty barren. There aren't many flowers and grasses growing in this patch. And although I could try and encourage them over the years, I think it'll be better that we utilise this area for the barn to go into. It's roughly going to be about 6 metres by 4 metres. What I need to do with this area is first of all level it off. I need to create an access point by taking away the stone wall here, and I'll repurpose the stone elsewhere. We need to create a level foundation for our pallets to go on, because it's going to be a pallet build, and we also need to bury some posts in the ground which will be our structural support for those pallets when we commence building. We chose this spot for the barn for a few reasons. One, it's in the area of the land where generally it's the driest, which is good for parking the tractor on. It's not too far from the houses, so we can keep an eye on things from a security point of view. And it's got good access out to our drive and then out onto the road. So in the future, if there are times like this where it's rained a lot, we can still have access to the tractor and use it for some jobs. Whereas if we put it further down on the land, say in the area that we're going to be having our vegetables, it's so wet down there, the tractor will be stuck for weeks, and that's pointless. So up here is where it's going to go.
Wow, look at that.
The water level is actually higher than the ground because of the way the well's made.
There's actually a snail down there.
Oh. I think he may have dropped in when I took the thing.
Oh, so okay.
He's saved.
He saved the snail.
Gone floppy?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, that's taut. So I'd say we've got about...
half a metre?
Yeah, about that. We'll call it half a metre.
Okay.
Okay, half a metre. 1. 2. 3. 4. And that's about half a metre as well. So I'd say
5 metres.
The depth of this well is 5 metres. Given all the rain we've had, there's never been a better time to work out how deep our wells are. So by measuring the depth and then working out the circumference of the well, we should then be in a position to work out the volume of water that's held within them. And that's a really simple calculation because we know that this well is 5 metres deep. We'll then work out the circumference, and then all we need to do is send those details off to Miranda's son, who knows about these things because we can't do maths, and he'll come back to us, hopefully, with the answer. This is true, because I went online to try and work it out myself, and I haven't got the foggiest, and that's even though there's a calculation on there where you just put the details in. I still couldn't come up with an answer. The other really important reason why we're measuring at the moment is because as we go through the summer, clearly there's going to be less rain, and we want to use this well to water our vegetables. So if we know now that the maximum height it could ever possibly be is 5 metres, we can then watch how it drops over the summer. because we don't want to be in the position that we take so much water out of the well that it runs dry. We've got a borehole behind us, so we can start to utilise that if needs be, if there's ever any concern over the well. But we've done this one. Now let's go up further up to the other part of the land to measure the next one.
I can't even see the borehole for grass.
I know. I'll have to make sure I don't run into it with the tractor.
Yeah.
There. There's a giant spider.
Oh, he's big, isn't he?
And in there is our borehole, and you can see the water.
You can see the water at the top already.
The gunk with the snail in it, that is the water level within the borehole at the moment.
Wow.
Which is bonkers.
That's a big old spider, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't want to try and measure the depth in this today. I'll do that another day, okay?
Okay.
You're right if I put the lid down because of the ants?
Yeah, there's loads of them. They're everywhere. Wow. They are just everywhere.
There's always been a big nest of ants on this borehole.
Is there?
Yeah, always.
Okay. Wow, look, isn't that?
That is so full. I mean, literally, when we measured this back in the autumn after the hot summer, there was a metre, if that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Wow.
that up to ground level again. Go in. Okay, we've gone limp.
Okay. Cool.
So that's nearly a full metre. Let's call this first one a full metre, all right?
All right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Call that 5.5, okay?
5.5, okay.
5.5.
Cool.
Ooh, 1830.
1830.
1830.
1 metre, 83.
Yeah.
1 metre, 83. Cool, okay. I've been trying to decide whether to fill up my tray again and keep going, or whether to call it a day. I was hoping to get at least the first coat on today, but I just haven't managed it. It's like one of those jobs that you think is going to take an hour and it's taking 24. So yeah, I think it's looking all right. I've stuck with a brush rather than the roller because the roller's too hard to push into the wall. Maybe with the second coat with a roller might be a lot easier, but the brush just gets right into all the nooks and crannies really.
So basically that's job done and wrap up to the day, is it?
Yeah, I think so, honey.
Okay.